Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Accent Training Podcast. My name is Pat. I'm your personal American accent coach. And today I want to help you level the playing field when it comes to negotiating with Americans in the workplace. If you've got American coworkers, if your boss is American or your superiors overseas might be American, they're likely at a significant advantage in any negotiations that you have with them because they're negotiating in their native language and you are not. And that's tough. Even if you're highly proficient in using English, you're still at a disadvantage when it comes to negotiating terms of an agreement in English compared to an American. So I want to level the playing field today. I want you to learn the words and the intonation that American English speakers use when negotiating in English for you to succeed in the workplace. This means that we're going to be talking about 4 idiomatic expressions to negotiate with your coworkers most effectively and 4 idiomatic expressions to negotiate with your superiors. Now, as we go through the idiomatic expressions of today, I'm going to have you listen for something. Intonation. I want you to listen for intonation because intonation can communicate sincerity, it can communicate uncertainty, it can make your words sound confident and as if you are an expert. And if it isn't controlled, it can come across as a little insulting. And we certainly don't want to insult people that we work with, unless we need to. So listen closely to idiomatic expression number 1. Listen closely for where my voice peaks up and try to repeat it for yourself. I'm open to hearing your ideas. I'm open to hearing your ideas. The word open peaked up here. It raised up 2 octaves and the O stretched out more than the vowels of the other words. The other words were kind of lower to medium in pitch. I'm open to hearing your ideas. Ideas goes up on the ending, but not as much as open. Not to the same quality. That's the difference between the high pitch, emphasized word and the medium pitch one. I'm open to hearing your ideas. Now, this idiomatic expression means I'll hear your opinion and I'll consider it, but I'm not promising that I'm going to act on it. It's admitting that you don't know all the answers. Other people have other good ideas. You're willing to collaborate. That's the kind of team-building attitude that's needed in the workplace. And it's also not setting unrealistic expectations. You're not saying, I'm going to do every little thing that you want me to do. You're just saying, I'll listen, and I'll consider what you've got to say. I'm open to hearing your ideas. Moving forward, idiom 2, listen closely, catch the intonation, and try to repeat it back to me. I'm not entirely sold on that approach. I'm not entirely sold on that approach. What word's getting emphasized here? Sold is emphasized here. I'm not entirely sold on that approach. Why do we emphasize sold? Well, we're using the word sold in place of the word convinced. We're saying your approach has potential. We're not saying it's a terrible approach. We're saying there's some value in your plan. But I'm not convinced enough to act on it. I'm not entirely sold on that approach. I don't agree with it enough to invest my time and energy into it. There are good points, but it doesn't seem to all fit together yet. Keep working on it. I'm not entirely sold on that approach. Idiomatic expression number 3. Listen for the intonation. Let's table this for now and come back to it. Let's table this for now and come back to it. In that phrase, tell me, which word is getting emphasized? Which word's peaking up? Table. Table is peaking up. Let's table this for now and come back to it. We're saying, let's pause this discussion, gather more information, and pick it up with a fresh perspective later. Maybe you're just arguing in circles. You present your idea and they just won't agree with it no matter what. You're not selling them on your approach. But you're convinced that this is the best approach, it's the best way to go. You can simply say, all right, let's table this for now and come back to it. Maybe you do need to consider their perspective. Maybe your perspective is something that takes a little bit of time to catch on. It's not going to click as soon as someone hears it. They've got to kind of chew on it a bit, and then it'll make sense. Or maybe you just haven't presented it to the best of your ability. That's all right. You simply say, let's table this for now and come back to it. Kind of flow. Let's table this for now and come back to it. Now, if the issue is particularly contentious, if it's something that's causing some heated argument, some heated debate, and you're all out of patience, this idiom can imply that you just want to drop it altogether. Look, let's table this for now and come back to it. Let's table this for now and come back to it. Notice the difference in my tone here. Let's table this for now and come back to it. It's a little more casual. Let's table this for now and come back to it. I sped up my words. There is a bit of a sharper tone, we would call that, a sharp tone. My words are quicker. My vowels are not stretching out in the same way, and I may even raise my voice a little bit. Let's table this for now and come back to it. That difference in your intonation, that difference in your tone, changes the implications from let's gather more information and return to the discussion to I'm out of patience for this discussion. Let's just drop it all together. I can't talk about this anymore. Both of them are necessary at certain times. And so consider that change in intonation and how stretching those vowels out, raising your voice up 2 octaves in one word will deliver a more sincere message. Moving on, idiomatic expression number 4. Listen closely for the intonation, for the word that I peak up in pitch compared to the others which are lower or more flowing, medium to low kind of stress. Let's put everything in writing to avoid any misunderstandings. Let's put everything in writing to avoid any misunderstandings. If you're hearing the word misunderstandings, then your ears are working perfectly fine because that is the word that I emphasized. Let's put everything in writing to avoid any misunderstandings. Folks, this is just a quick message to remind you to subscribe to the Accent Training Podcast. If you haven't already, you don't want to miss a second of this accent training experience. And you want to be updated whenever I've got new content out for you. So if you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe now. This is what you say when you have come to terms on an agreement. Let's document the agreed upon terms to avoid any misunderstandings in the future. Now, this is a huge thing in American culture. I know that there are cultures out there where your word is your honor, it's your bond. If you say something, it's going to happen. Not in the American culture. In the American culture, there are verbal agreements, and that is something that's upheld by law, verbal agreements, but you got to get a good lawyer if you want to uphold a verbal agreement. However, if it's in writing, it's a lot easier to get people to follow through with what they agree to. Deals are always put in writing in the American culture. That's why you get a receipt when you go to the store and you buy a bag of chips or a chocolate bar. If a deal as small as a chocolate bar is put in writing, you should definitely put deals made in the workplace in writing too. This could be literal pen to paper writing. It could be an email, a text message, whatever you like. Put it in writing so that everybody knows what's expected of them. So let me give you a quick little story to help you remember this with. You walk into work on a Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you had been working all week on one thing. You've put in 12-hour days. This week alone, you've dedicated 36 hours towards one effort. A lot of hard work. You show up 7 a.m., ready to work, and a coworker comes up to you. You see he's got some of the work that you've accomplished in his hand. And he tells you, hey, I just wanted to talk to you about this here. There's a couple things I'd like to go over. I don't really agree with what you're doing on this project. Now, you could get defensive, but truly, that's not going to get you very far in the workplace. You're a team. You're working together to achieve the same goal. You're all moving forward in the same direction. And so you say, hey, okay, I'm open to hearing your ideas. And they say, oh, that's great. They tell you, this is just what I don't like, and these stats, I don't feel like they really represent our market in X, Y, and Z. We should do this and this and this, and then I think that we'll see better results at the end of the day. And here's the thing. You've already considered what they're saying. As a matter of fact, what they're saying is very basic compared to the amount of work that you've done. In fact, as soon as you hear the words come out of their mouth, you know that they haven't fully looked at your project because those are issues which you already addressed a little bit further down the line. And so you could simply say, I'm not entirely sold on that approach. Simple as that. I'm not entirely sold on that approach. I've considered those ideas. I see the value in the plan, but I'm not convinced that this will have the long-term results that we want. I'm not going to act on it. I'm not entirely sold on that approach. And they say, okay, well, you understand that your approach has these flaws in it, and we're going to run into some trouble down the road if we don't take care of it. You've got to stop what you're doing and take on this new direction that I think is better. Now, this is only 7 a.m. You're just showing up at the office. You want to contribute to this conversation, but you feel like you're just not ready for it at the moment. You know exactly what to do and what to say to convince your coworker that you're correct, but it's going to have to wait. You've got other pressing issues to act on. And so instead of explaining your whole plan, instead of getting defensive, like I said, we don't want to get defensive. It's not going to help things in the workplace. And instead of feeling like you're doing something terribly wrong, when you know that you're taking the best approach on this, let them know, okay, well, let's table this for now and come back to it later. Let's table this for now and come back to it later. Let's leave our ideas right here on the table. Let's pause this discussion. I'm going to go gather information that will help you understand my perspective. And maybe you can even read a little bit more into my plan, and it might give you a fresh perspective for us to come back to it later. Let's table this for now and come back to it later. You're simply postponing the conversation, and you'll come back to it at a better time, more prepared. So a few hours pass by. Clock hits 12 and you say, oh boy, time for lunch. All right. And you step out of the office to go grab some lunch. And what do you know? You see your coworker there who was badgering you in the morning about what you'd been working on. And they're waving. They're actually a little bit more excited. They've been looking more into your work, and they see that you have already addressed the problems. You've already, all the things that they were concerned about. It's like, it's clear. They just had to read more into it. And so they're happy and they're saying, oh, hey, great to see you. I looked into everything. I see that you've got it lined out. I was just missing some context, but I can totally come to terms on this. This is great. Let's work together on it. And you say, okay, yeah, let's put everything into writing and we'll get right to it. You're documenting the agreed upon terms and you're avoiding misunderstandings in the future. Now, that's an easy enough conversation. You can see how that might apply. It's pretty generic, the examples that I gave, but also specific, right? Specific to negotiating with your coworkers. You're open to hearing their ideas. You politely reject their opinion. You say, let's gather some more information and come back to it. And then once you do, you put it into writing and everybody's happy about it. Negotiating with your coworkers isn't so bad. Negotiating with your superiors, however, is a little more intimidating. Because these people can fire you if they get angry. They can make life suck at work. All that they've got to do is sign a couple forms and you're working with people that you don't like. You're on projects that you don't like. They could slow down your pay raise or possible promotions. Or the opposite can happen. You can show them that you're dedicated to seeing your team thrive in the workplace. And so let's talk about a few idiomatic expressions for you to disagree with your superiors and voice your own opinions confidently. Now, I've got to tell you a quick little thing from one of my favorite books, The 48 Laws of Power. Law number 1 of power is never outshine the master. Never outshine the master. In the workplace, who is the master? The boss. The boss is the master, and you got to do what he says. And if you outshine him, you may make him feel foolish. So, if you want to disagree with your superiors, it's best done in private. You don't want to shoot down their plans in front of the whole team. That's terrible communication. And even if you're right, they're going to create a situation for you that's worse than if you had just said nothing and let their plan fail. So, number 1 communication tip to disagree with your superiors, do it in private. Here's your first idiomatic expression now. Listen for the intonation that I use and the confidence that's projected in these words. I'd like to propose an alternative approach. I'd like to propose an alternative approach. The word alternative is peaking up, it's taking on the intonation, it's rising in pitch, and then approach goes back down. I'd like to propose an alternative approach. This is politely saying, I disagree with your plan and I have a better plan. I'd like to propose an alternative approach. I'm emphasizing the word alternative to bring attention to the fact that there's something new being offered here. Something that your superiors, in all of their great wisdom, may not have seen. An alternative approach. We're not saying, I don't like your plan. They're not going to listen if you say that. I don't like your plan. But I'd like to propose an alternative approach. You have their attention. Idiom number 2. Listen closely for the intonation. Let's not lose sight of the potential benefits. Let's not lose sight of the potential benefits. The word benefits is raised up at the end of that. And when we say this, we're saying that I believe the benefits of this alternate plan are greater than the benefits of your original plan. Again, we're not insulting the original plan. We're just saying both plans are good, but This one's a little better. This one's a little bit better. It has more benefits. Let's not lose sight of the potential benefits. An even greater outcome. Idiomatic expression number 3. Listen for the intonation. I appreciate your guidance and support. I appreciate your guidance and support. The word support is being emphasized here. We could also emphasize guidance. I appreciate your guidance and support. It just depends on how the conversation's going. If they correct you, if they point out a flaw in your plan, and they show that you are actually incorrect, thank them for their guidance. Whether you agree with them or not, thank them for their guidance. If you lost the negotiation, they will feel as though they showed you the correct way. And you're acknowledging it. They like that. It's okay to be wrong. Just admit that you're wrong. And if you do, good things will happen. You're being accountable. I appreciate your guidance and support. Now, if you won the negotiation, emphasize support. I appreciate your guidance and support. I appreciate your guidance and support. They're going to feel that they contributed to the development of your plan, even if they didn't. But now you've thanked them for their support. Just by them allowing your plan to take root, they've supported you. And now they feel responsible for that plan. And if it's a good plan, then you may have a good future with that boss, right? I appreciate your guidance and support. I appreciate your guidance and support. Whether you win the debate or you lose the debate, end it with that, and it will be a victory in the long run. And idiom number 4, our final idiomatic expression for today. Listen for the intonation. I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that. The word bored is emphasized here. I'm on board with that. Why are we emphasizing bored? Well, we're saying if this is a ship or a plane, if this is a vehicle that's moving forward, I'm on it. I'm on board. This plan is a vehicle and I support it fully. I'm on this vehicle. I'm going to support this plan. I'm on board with that. Now, this is something that you could say if you and your superiors, your boss or whoever you're talking with, come to terms on something. Maybe you meet in the middle. Maybe you go in with a new idea. They point out a few errors in the idea, but they admit there's a lot of potential. They just weren't fully sold on it at first. However, they make a few adjustments. You consider the adjustments and you say, actually, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm on board with that. We can work together on that. I support your plan fully. You're the captain, and I'm on board. So one more little story for you folks, a quick little story to practice the 4 idiomatic expressions that we've been talking about right here. Starting out, you've just finished a meeting. Your boss was there, all your coworkers, the whole team showed up. And they were talking about the plans for the next quarter. How you're going to approach sales. And you don't like it. You don't like the approach. You think that, the target demographic is too wide. Too much money's being spent in the wrong areas. And so you think about it and you think, you know what? I've got to let the boss know that plan just isn't going to cut it. We can do better. And you know how the team can do better. In fact, you even have a plan for how the team can do better. Now, since you're a fan of the Accent Training Podcast, you know not to call your boss out like that in front of the whole team, it's not going to go well for you. You want a private audience. And so you simply approach your boss after the meeting and you ask them, hey, do you have 10 or 15 minutes that we can just run by a few of the details of this meeting here? I'd like to propose an alternative approach. And they say, yeah, sure. Absolutely. I've got time right now, actually, if you do. And you say, yeah, now's a good time. So you step into their office and you say, I'd like to propose an alternative approach. And they say, oh, okay, an alternative approach. I'm all ears. And you break down your approach. You break down where the money should be spent, why it should be spent there, how it's going to maximize the cost, and result in a better bottom line for the company. However, your boss comes back with a few rebuttals. He says, yeah, but this team, they need to get their money, and we just hired some new salespeople. We need to get them going here, and we need to do this over there. And you say, yeah, but let's not lose sight of the potential benefits here. If money's being wasted in those areas, if it's being spent needlessly, then we're never going to see the full benefits of our efforts. Let's not lose sight of the potential benefits. And your boss takes a minute or two and they agree. They make a couple suggestions, a couple changes that kind of help your plan collaborate with their plan. And you feel that it works, that it's actually pretty good. And so you say, okay, yeah, I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that. You're simply saying, I support your plan. I support those ideas. And then you follow it up with saying, I appreciate your guidance and support. I appreciate your guidance and support. We emphasize support because they helped us. They gave us guidance too, but typically we only emphasize one word per thought. If we say, appreciate your guidance and support, it's a little bit awkward. It's a little too excited sounding. But emphasizing only one word, I appreciate your guidance and support, gives you more control over how your idioms, your words will be received. And so there you have it. 4 idiomatic expressions to negotiate with your coworkers, 4 idiomatic expressions to negotiate with your superiors. I want listeners of the Accent Training Podcast to step into the workplace confidently. I'm trying to level the playing field here, folks. English speakers have an advantage if you're negotiating in English, and if English isn't your first language. If the English speaker were negotiating in your language, your first language, well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But they're not. However, you are negotiating in theirs. And that puts you at a disadvantage, and that's why I made this episode today. I want to level the playing field. I want your voice and your opinions to be heard in the workplace. I want you to be able to confidently state that you agree with ideas, that you disagree. And I want you to avoid using intonation that may cause an argument accidentally. So if you need to, listen to this episode again. Take note of the idiomatic expressions discussed, and then go out into the world and use them, my friend. Use these idioms, enhance the sound of your spoken English, and succeed when communicating with American English speakers. Have a good one.